All right, Jem, it's time for a Splatoon review. And you know what that means? We've got to break out all of our Splat-themed wordplay. What you got?
How about it's time to get messy and a bit stressy in the Splat-tastic Splataganza Splatoon 3. How was that?
Oh, splatterific. Splat-tacular. Living under a rock, Splatoon is the third-person multiplayer shooter where teams go head-to-head to see who can coat the battlefield in their team's colors. Using a variety of weapons not only to paint, but decimate the opposition in an all-out splatfest. It's chaotic, intense, and most importantly, super fun.
And Splatoon 3 more than carries on that tradition. If you enjoyed Splatoon 2, you're probably gonna like this because it's essentially more of the same. In the multiplayer department, Turf Wars makes a return, and it's some of the most fun I've had in a game this year. Once you've cleared level 10, you get access to Anarchy Battles, which is a renamed selection of the rank battles we've seen in previous Splatoon games. And finally, there's Salmon Run Next Wave, the player versus environment, or PvE mode, that was introduced in Splatoon 2, that pits your team of wet weather gear fighters against waves of enemies, while trying to collect enough golden eggs to fulfill your quota. Pretty familiar territory for any veteran Inklings or Octolings.
Oh, it was like slipping on an old glove, a slimy, ink-filled glove. But for newcomers to the series, there's an extensive story mode that you can explore before diving into online battle. You and your tiny companion Small Fry are tasked with returning the missing Great Zapfish and defeating the Octarian army who are suspected to have taken it. So with the help of Squid Beak Splatoon, you must travel around the 6 islands of Altera, completing objectives and earning salmon eggs to get through the mysterious fuzzy ooze that blocks your path. Side note, fuzzy ooze is what my bananas turn into when I forget about them in my bag.
Oh, that's so icky. We're here for inky, not icky. Each island has a handful of challenges to complete, some as simple as painting a statue, while others are more complicated, like hitting all the targets while rail gliding, or navigating a maze without touching enemy ink. I was a bit worried this was just gonna be a dragged-out collection of tutorials, and it kind of is, but it's also a playground to test out all kinds of special weapons and cool power-ups you might not get a chance to fully explore in the multiplayer.
Are we thinking of the same special weapon? I think we are.
Inky Spider-Man?
Inky Spider-Man! Well, it's actually called the Zipcaster. This is a new weapon that shoots a line of ink you can use to stick to walls and cross large distances. It's insanely fun to use, and missions involving it were some of my favorites of the lot. Also, fun fact, in the Dutch translation of the game, this weapon's called the Tentacable, which I think is a much cooler name.
Each mission you complete earns you a certain amount of salmon eggs you feed to Small Fry to convince him to eat the fuzzy ooze. But you don't have to do them all, just enough to clear a path. Having so much variety in the challenges, only to give players the option to sidestep them, might feel like a bit of a weird decision, but for me, it really saved things from becoming a drag over time. Why would I want to waste my salmon eggs trying and failing challenges I don't enjoy when I could focus on all the fun that comes with running and gunning Octarian bad guys?
It was a good call. And hey, the option is still always there for completionist spawnlings if they want. My only issue with the single player was when it started to focus on the platforming, which I gotta say is not its strongest element. You do have the ability to squid surge, giving you a boost as you ink your way up walls. But making jumps between platforms feels quite rigid, which often meant a lot of falls that broke that nice sense of flow. Splatoon 3 is at its best when it's focused on the shooting, which feels phenomenal as always.
Oh, too true. And that goes for both the multiplayer and the single player. Whether you're a base dweller holding down the fort, or out there laying waste to the other team, how you move and fight feels so satisfying. Getting into a close-quarters skirmish is intense, while getting the jump on an opponent gave me a confidence boost I rode for the rest of the match.
Oh, when the last minute starts closing in, you can feel the tension in the air. It's electric. range of weapons you can buy means there's always something new to learn, and it encourages you to get outside your comfort zone. Not all of them hit the mark for me, but that really mattered when I had so many others to choose from.
Yeah, it's nice to have so many options within the same style of weapon too. I'm definitely more of a distance shooty player than anything else, so having so many options to try out was a real treat. And each loadout has their own sub-weapon and special weapon included, so you've always got something up your sleeve.
You can also deck out your character in the local clothing stores in the main hub. Shopping! You're not just dressing to impress though, as each item has its own abilities, like improving your ink recovery or your run speed. It's nothing new, but it is a nice incentive to rack up XP in online battles so you can show off your style. But we should wrap this up, Jem. Final thoughts?
I think it's pretty safe to say Splatoon 3 has taken the if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach, much like Splatoon 2 did following the original. Taking the best bits and trimming off the excess to create a streamlined experience, which it's successfully done. It's stuck to doing what it does best, being a chaotic, action-packed, ink-throwing hoedown, and I love just about every second of it. So I'm giving Splatoon 3 5 out of 5 rubber chickens.
The devs clearly know what works by now, and they've stuck to their guns, or their paintbrushes. While I do think returning players might find Splatoon 3 a bit samey to the others in the series, I don't feel that changes how enjoyable it is. There's still nothing quite like Splatoon, and I'm curious to see where they go from here with future updates and community events. It's a supercalifragilistic XBLE good time. I'm also giving Splatoon 3 5 out of 5 rubber chickens.
Think fast!
The Splatoon series has made a name for itself with a strong focus on online multiplayer matches, but that's not to say it's ever neglected single-player fans out there. Both games have included story campaigns, complete with fun characters, tons of stages, and some fantastic boss battles. And now the series is going deep underground with a batch of tentacle-friendly test chambers in this DLC, the Octo Expansion. Unlike previous Inkling-focused adventures, this add-on centers around an Octoling who awakens in the grungy deep-sea metro with, you guessed it, no memory. After a run-in with the just-as-confused Captain Cuttlefish, who recruits you as Agent 8, you answer a call from a totally hip telephone who tells you of escape to the Promised Land once you ride the metro and successfully retrieve 4 fangs to construct an ancient contraption. Now, I usually love these games for their weird style, quirky design, and strange sense of humour, but this is by far the coolest adventure yet. Once on board the subway, you're greeted by the conductor, Mr. C. Cucumber, very clever, who uploads a copy of the map you'll need to navigate in order to hunt down the fangs, which aren't actually marked, so you'll need to do a bit of subway surfing to hunt down the correct lines. Each station you stop at contains a mini mission that requires a fee to attempt it. Complete the stage, you'll earn some currency and be free to move further along the line. Using stations as stages cleverly branches the map out in multiple directions, which can come in handy if you find yourself stuck on a particularly tough stage. Because fair warning, some of these missions are squidiculously tricky. Although short, each one of these stages is packed full of cleverly designed platforming sections that all utilise that unique Splatoon playstyle. For instance, one stage may have you escorting an 8-ball through an obstacle course, another requires you to pop every single balloon while grinding along railing, and there's even a stage that requires you to perfectly replicate a giant dog made entirely of crates. And what makes them work here is the difficulty. They're challenging, but they're not impossible. It's the type of gameplay that rewards you for being persistent.
Well, Goose, it appears that lately Nintendo has found its niche creating these short micro-tests of gamers' skills, such as the optional Power Moon rooms in Super Mario Odyssey, and of course the shrines from the most recent Zelda game. And with a total of 80 stages, it would have been easy to just copy and paste a lot of these level ideas, but instead they've all been designed with a dash of old-school difficulty. Oh, my kind of gaming.
Totally. Each Each stage feels distinct and thought out, and I was genuinely surprised every time I dived into a new one. I did occasionally miss an edge or a ledge due to some depth issues, most likely caused by the crazy amount of design on screen at any one time, but thankfully there are checkpoints scattered throughout most of the stages. You also occasionally have the option to pick different loadouts, which can alter the difficulty depending on the challenge. Picking tougher loadouts earns you more CQ credits, which do come in handy when you run out of lives and need to jump back in. At first, I thought using currency would be a really cool way to juggle difficulty, but eventually this credit system feels totally unnecessary because I never found myself running too low. And you can even pay to skip stages entirely once you've attempted them enough times. However, doing so means you won't receive the full reward of a colourful mem cake, little trinkets that can be traded in once you collect the whole set for gear to use outside of the DLC.
Oh, speaking of which, Goose, did you know that successfully completing the Octo expansion gives you the option to now play as an Octoling in the main game? Forget Squid Kids, I'm all about Octolings now! Blah, 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 blah.
Well, as cool as that incentive was, it wasn't actually my motivation for completing the DLC. And while I really loved the challenge stages too, it turned out to be the story that had me hooked. Struggling to climb out of this maze-like underground facility while weird and possibly shady characters all chattered through the radio at me, there's something very Portal 2 about it all. But then that distinctive Splatoonness would come bursting through in the art style, the characters, and that fresh soundtrack. It just reminded me how much I love this universe and all my mollusky mates. The Octo expansion successfully shows that the team behind Splatoon have not run dry of ideas when it comes to expanding on their inky mechanics or exploring their weird world. As far as DLC goes, this is up there as one of my favourite franchise revisits, and I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5 rubber chickens.